Hello everybody, Vic here with another video, and today I'm ranking the top 10 characters in the Halloween franchise. We have 13 movies, so a large pool of characters to draw from. I'm not just talking heroes, I'm talking heroes, villains, side characters, minor characters. Barker from the Halloween 2018 trilogy, he can make this list. He won't make this list, but he's eligible to make this list. And of course, in the comments, give me your top 10 characters in the Halloween franchise. And if you like this video, hit the like button, thumbs up, subscribe if you have not. We're right on the cusp of 1,000 subscribers. I'm planning a live stream, Q&A, discussing all things Halloween with you guys once we hit 1,000. But today, let's talk top 10 characters. Well, number 10 for me is going to be Annie from the original Halloween. Now, I've talked about in past videos that it's actually sort of unclear whether or not Michael's actually stalking Laurie in the original Halloween, or if maybe he's actually stalking Annie. There's a little bit more evidence to suggest that it's Laurie because there's a few more scenes with Michael outside of Laurie's house, of course, in the bushes. Well, in the bushes even, like when he's watching both Laurie and Annie walk towards him. So it's a little bit unclear there. And then, but you can also make an argument that things really pick up when Michael's driving his car past the three girls walking, and Annie's like, "Hey, speed kills!" Michael freezes, and then we're off to the races with full-blown stalking the rest of the day. So there's more evidence just that he's after Laurie. So I think that if you did a dissertation on it, you'd come to the conclusion that's probably Laurie. But it feels like, man, that Annie's basically your co-main character in this original Halloween. And notice that Michael takes so much time with his stalking of Annie. The whole death scene and lead up to Annie's death scene, it's the longest Michael's ever spent like focusing on one character in the franchise. So I think he did have some kind of, not obsession, but he did have something there's something about Annie that made Michael really savor whatever he was doing, the stalking, the killing, really took his time there. So I think Annie also, just focusing on her character for a second, what stands out when you watch original Halloween about Annie is that she feels like a real teenager, a real human being. She has that sort of dry, sarcastic wit. She's concerned with just seeing her boyfriend. She has that sort of fun relationship with her father, Brackett. So she feels like a real character, and not many characters in horror movies feel like real characters. Sometimes they feel like manufactured stereotypes, like they have a gimmick, like they're the jock or the pretty girl, or just something that the writer sort of wrote in as a cliche, just there to be, fodder for the villain to kill. But Annie feels like a real person. I want to spotlight her because I think that Nancy Loomis, the actress who played Annie, did a great job of bringing something extra to Annie. And by the time she dies, you feel something. I felt something. And I think she's probably one of my favorite characters in the franchise. So in terms of the Daniel Harris portrayal of Annie in the Rob Zombie movies, it's fine, but it's a different character. Daniel Harris is always a solid actor. She does a great job, but it's a different character. I just prefer the one from the original Halloween. So she's at number 10 for me. Moving on to number 9, it's going to be Meeker, Sheriff Meeker from both Halloweens 4 and 5. Listen, Brackett did a great job in the first Halloween, and the guy in part 2 also did a great job as well. These movies always had that cop role who's assisting our main character, whether it be Brackett or Meeker or Hawkins in the new trilogy. And getting that character right is always, it can be a struggle because you want the character to believe in our hero, believe in the threat of Michael Myers, and not be too resistant. You want them to get on board and just assist them. And Meeker really jumps on board with Loomis pretty quickly. It doesn't take a whole lot of convincing. Loomis doesn't have to give 75 speeches about, the darkest eye. I mean, he does still give the speeches because that's what Loomis does, but he's going to ramble on about Michael and how evil he is. So he still does that, but, Meeker's just like, hey, you had me at Michael, okay? Let's go kill him. So I think Meeker does a great job in Halloween 4 of being a strong supporting character. I think Halloween 5, he's probably a little bit underutilized, and what I mean is that his daughter having been killed in Halloween 4, it feels like there's a lot of room to do more with Meeker in Halloween 5, so they missed the boat a little bit. I wanted Meeker to be full-blown, batshit, revenge-obsessed, wants to take out Michael Myers at all odds, really thinking about the fact that Michael killed his daughter. And I think they could have emphasized that more in Halloween 5 and gave him a new lair. But man, one of the mysteries in the franchise is what happened to Meeker. There's a Fangoria photo that shows they filmed a scene at the end of Halloween 5 where, of course, the man in black stupidly comes to the police station to free Michael. But in that shootout, apparently Meeker was killed. But that's not necessarily canon because we don't see it in the movie. So I think somewhere, hopefully, Meeker is still out there alive, policing Haddonfield, doing his best to stop the forces of evil in Haddonfield. But I think he's probably my favorite cop sheriff character in the franchise. And that says a lot because, again, Brackett is really solid. So, but I give Meeker the slight leg up because Brackett, again, underutilized in Halloween 2. If Brackett did more, maybe he'd be my favorite, but because they give Meeker the full Halloween 4 and 5, two full movies, I got to give the nod to Meeker here. Okay, number 8 on the list. Now, this is going to be slightly cheating because I'm pairing these two together because I just think of them as like one unit, and that's John and Molly from Halloween H2O. Um, Halloween H2O, for all its faults, Scream movie, poorly shot, terrible Michael Myers, horrible situation when using 7 different masks. For all that said, I do like the characters in Halloween H2O, and I think John and Molly are worthy protagonists. I mean, obviously, Laurie Strode is like the ultimate protagonist in H2O. Her shadow looms over everything in the movie. But with the screen time they're given, you do get a feel for John's struggle with his mom's past, wanting to move on from Michael Myers, dealing with Laurie's trauma passing on to him, involuntarily. So you get that feel from John. Then Molly, who's played by Michelle Williams, who would go on to be the most acclaimed actress in the franchise. I mean, she's won Oscars, nominated for Oscars. She is fantastic as Molly. She's just a great, likable, supportive character. And, I love the moment when, Michael's attacking them outside, stabs John in the leg. Molly takes the damn rock and just shoves it right in Michael's face with a fierce aggression, saying, "Hey, Michael, I'm not no damsel in distress. I will beat your ass with this rock if you stab my man in his leg." So, even if they reboot the franchise with like the prior timeline, which they would never do, I think everybody would be on board if you did a sequel to Resurrection where you brought back John and Molly, because there is some unfinished business for Michael in that timeline, and that is, well, yeah, you killed Laurie, and now you're going home to watch soap operas and messing with entertainment bullshit, but you could easily just start a new plight of Michael having to chase down John wherever he is. I think they probably left the country, went to the witness protection program, nowhere to be found. But you could bring back, well, I don't know if you could get back Josh Hartnett and Michelle Williams. They're pretty high profile now. So, pitching them an idea of like, hey, a sequel to Halloween Resurrection, they probably throw the damn script. Then they'll take the meeting even probably. But if you could bring them back, I think the audience would be on board because they were likable characters and you could continue to follow them. So they're my number 8, John and Molly. Moving on, number 7, which, again, maybe I'm cheating. I'm pairing these two together. Tommy Doyle and Kara from Halloween Curse of Michael Myers. Now, again, this movie, again, with all its faults, which is basically just the script and the story. This movie is kind of a mess in terms of story-wise. It's not really clear what the story is, per se. I've seen some essays that really do actually, when you break it down in detail, you can make a cohesive, logical sense of Curse of Michael Myers. But just what's presented on screen to the average viewer is going to be like, what the hell am I watching? What is this cold bullshit, all this nonsense? It's kind of a mess. There's probably a great version of Halloween Curse of Michael Myers where you combine the producer's cut and the original theatrical together. I personally love the sequel, Halloween Curse of Michael Myers. I think it's a fun, fast-paced thing. But thinking about Tommy and Kara, there's not much Dr. Loomis in Halloween 6. I mean, this is like, he's in the movie, but he has a very small presence. And that's because, obviously, with Donald Pleasance's age, his health, and then for some reason, the director or somebody just like edited out a lot of his scenes. He has a lot more scenes than the producer's cut. But there's not a lot of Loomis in this movie. So the burden to carry the film is really on Tommy and Karen. Of course, we know, all the bullshit with Jamie Lloyd at the beginning being killed off in the first 10 minutes. The onus is on Tommy and Kara to carry this movie as the main protagonist, and they do a great job. I think Kara is one of the best final girls in the franchise. I think she's underrated in terms of final girls in the horror genre. She has everything you want. She's courageous. She fights back. She's smart. She is protecting her son. So Kara's fantastic. Now, in terms of Tommy Doyle with Paul Rudd, now obviously Paul Rudd has gone on to show he's an amazing actor, doing everything from comedies to Marvel films. This is one of his early roles, and there's some odd decisions with Tommy Doyle. He's really leaning into the idea that Tommy Doyle is like so traumatized from the events of the original Halloween that he hasn't really recovered. He's obsessed with Michael Myers. A lot of sort of offbeat facial expressions and sort of, I don't know exactly how to describe Tommy Doyle in Halloween Curse of Michael Myers, but he's definitely kind of an off character. Never leans into the idea of being like courageous leading man. So he's an offbeat character. But I think by the end, you're on board with Tommy and Kara, and similar to John and Molly, if in some, crazy Twilight Zone, offbeat alternate universe, they did a sequel to Halloween Curse of Michael Myers, you would be on board with Halloween fans with continuing the story of Tommy and Kara. Wherever they go, does Michael follow them? I'm assuming, again, they left Haddonfield as well, but I think that they are great characters that stand out in Halloween Curse of Michael Myers and stand out in the franchise. All right, let's move on to number 6. And this is where we get very interesting, mixing in the villains here. Cochran from Halloween 3. Now, I haven't done a full-blown Halloween 3 video yet. That's coming up probably maybe even next week. But Halloween 3, I think, is... Well, it's funny because it was underrated all throughout its original run, the 90s, 2000s. And now the pendulum has swung maybe too far in the other direction where it's like super hyped up. I think it's a great, solid movie, but some people have Halloween 3 as like the best movie in the franchise. I don't believe that. I think it's a pretty good, above average, good Halloween seasonal film to watch because the movie really focuses on Halloween costumes and trick or treating, and it just ties into actually watching around Halloween time. But our protagonist, Tom Atkins, who is the biggest ladies' man in the 80s. I mean, that guy, and Tom Atkins, if he's in a horror movie in the early to mid 80s, then he's going to be in bed with some actress like 2 scenes into the movie. So, but Chalice is not necessarily the best character because, in my opinion, he goes on the events of Halloween 3 strictly to sleep with the female character of the movie. There's no like noble intentions. He's not really trying to save anything or help the world, but the villain in Halloween 3, that's who I want to focus on, Cochran. Cochran is more diabolical than Michael Myers. Whatever Loomis is talking about, all his speeches about Michael Myers, the darkest eyes, they'd send him to hell, but hell wouldn't have him. These speeches could be applied to Cochran to the 25th power, because Cochran's out here not just trying to like stab people in Haddonfield. He's trying to take out the entire world with these damn commercials. And you see what happens to that kid, like the snakes coming out of his hair and the eyes and everything, like completely destroying kids who will watch this video on Halloween. So his plan is much more diabolical. It's going to cause more damage than Michael could do in 55 Halloween movies. I think the actor who played Cochran does a fantastic job. I think the explanation for why he wants to do this is actually pretty solid, pretty interesting. Cochran's always been a standout villain to me in horror movies in general. But basically, Cochran needs his flowers because he's a great horror villain and he's never really spotlighted or showcased or talked about. But I would have loved to seen, if Halloween 3 had continued that universe, a way to bring back Cochran and just have him be an ongoing villain because he is just diabolical, evil to the core. His plans are so sinister, it just blows my mind. Okay, we're getting to the top 5 now. This is the nitty gritty. This is where there's going to be a lot of pushback, varied opinions because, we love our Halloween protagonists and our villains, and it's hard to figure out how to place them. My list is going to be a little bit unconventional, I'd say. Okay, number 5 for me is going to be Rachel Carruthers, who, we all got to know in Halloween 4, the older sister figure for young Jamie Lloyd, comes on the screen, looks like just a normal, typical teenager with a lot going on, has troubles with her boyfriend Brady, feeling the weight of having to play big sister role to Jamie Lloyd. But as the film grows, she becomes super protective of Jamie Lloyd and all this stuff going on with Michael Myers. She really rises to the occasion to take on Michael. By the end of Halloween 4, she's one of the great protagonists in the franchise, and like Kara, probably underrated in terms of final girls and the horror genre in general. Listen, it's not easy to step in and fill the void. Now, listen, I'll say Jamie Lloyd actually probably more so filled the void of Laurie Strode, but it was a joint venture. I mean, having both of them in Halloween 4 was a big deal. And Rachel Carruthers, I think that she's memorable because we didn't get enough of her, because in Halloween 5, they obviously kill her about 20 minutes into the movie, which was a questionable decision at best because, you replaced her with Tina, but really we want to see Rachel continue to play that big sister role. And the death they gave Tina should have been given to Rachel Carruthers, obviously, towards the end of Halloween 5. But, man, I'll tell you what, Rachel Carruthers, Ellie Cornell, the actress, did a very good job with what she was given, making us connect to her character. And I would have loved to see her in Curse of Michael Myers. For her to continue on and kind of complete that. If as much as I like Kara, there is a world where it makes sense for Rachel Carruthers to be the one in Halloween 6 instead of Kara. And would have loved that, but she's a great character, and I've never heard anybody really say anything bad about Rachel Carruthers or anything negative in terms of her character. So she's right here at number 5. Moving on to number 4. Now this is probably going to be hot take central because this name is probably going to be top 2 or 3 on everybody's list except mine, and that is Laurie Strode herself, Jamie Lee Curtis. Laurie Strode, first introduced in the original Halloween, became synonymous with the idea of the ultimate final girl, is always placed in the top tier with Sidney Prescott and Nancy from Elm Street. Listen, when I watched the original Halloween, I've already said it, like I like Annie more than Laurie. And Laurie, I think she plays shy, nice, sort of that type of girl she plays in the original Halloween. She does a great job of it, but Am I emotionally connected to her at the end of the movie? Not as much as you might think. And then Halloween 2, she has such a minor role in terms of just being kind of bedridden the entire film and not really given a lot to do in Halloween 2. So the first two Halloween films, for me, Dr. Loomis is the star, the main character, and then Laurie Strode is secondary. In terms of what she would go on to do in future movies, Jamie Lee Curtis became such a big star that anytime she came back to Halloween, it was a big oomph to the franchise. It was always box office. She's responsible for a lot of the success of the Halloween franchise because she brought the box office back with Halloween H2O and then once again with Halloween 2018. And because of her star power, I think that sort of has over exaggerated how awesome Laurie Strode is as a character. But I want to say, like, my favorite version of her is definitely in Halloween H2O. And I think that's in H2O, she's one of the great horror protagonists. And I think in the new trilogy, I think her characterization is off, but I think Jamie Lee Curtis is such a good actress that she, again, elevates her to a high level as well. So, Laurie Strode, if she's in your top two or your top three, then I understand completely. I have a differing opinion on it, but I know a lot of people hold her in very high praise. I just hold her slightly below the first tier for me. I think Sidney Prescott in the original Scream is a way better final girl than Laurie Strode in Halloween. I think Nancy in Elm Street is a way better final girl in terms of how she fights back at the end and her resourcefulness and her intelligence. So they're for me first tier, and Laurie Strode is second tier, but she's still going to be, of course, in the top four for me. So number three. Now, listen, this is probably some odd nostalgic Thorn bias. You can call me biased towards the Thorn trilogy because coming home from school every Halloween when I was a kid, Halloween 4 and 5 would be playing on AMC, so I'd watch them back to back. So that felt like the backbone of the Halloween franchise for me. But damn it, I don't care. Jamie Lloyd is my number three character in the franchise. Listen, Danielle Harris, who was in this, was in Boy Meets World, Last Boy Scout. She was a great child actress. She's actually been solid as an adult actress as well. She's always been solid to me. Just like Rachel, it's not easy to be like, hey, Laurie Strode is gone, Jamie Lee Curtis is gone. We need you to pick up the pieces and be like the new final girl. And I think that I generally, for the most part, I'm not always a big fan of child performances in horror films. It's not usually the child actor's fault. I usually just feel like the director or the writing doesn't always do them favors, basically. But Jamie Lloyd stands out as a great child character in horror films. I mean, the fear she shows Michael's chasing after her, you really buy into the idea that this isn't acting. This is like a child who's fearing for her life. And I don't know, I think it's just a great job, especially Halloween 4. Halloween 5, because she's muted, I don't think she gets to actually display her range as much because she doesn't get to talk enough during the movie. But especially in Halloween 4, I think she's one of the best characters in the franchise. So for me, Jamie Lloyd is top of the line, number three here. The only downside her character is what they did with her in Halloween 6. One of the biggest sham mockeries in the franchise is having Jamie Lloyd go through that much anguish, that much torment, that much trauma, everything that happened to her part 4, part 5, for that to be the end of her character in Halloween 6. That unceremonious stabbing in a barn, or even worse, getting shot in the head in the producer's cut. It is truly a shame that we didn't get a great ending for this character. She deserved better. We're always going to say justice for Jamie. A lot of us want to continue on from the Halloween 4 movie or Halloween 5 because we want to see a better ending for Jamie. And also, have to mention the end of Halloween 4, the idea that she could have became the new Michael Myers was a great idea that just wasn't followed up with in Halloween 5. But Jamie Lloyd, number 3 here, and I know it's tricky because I know most people are going to have Laurie Strode ranked over her, but I just differ on that. I think she does more in Halloween 4 and 5 than Laurie Strode does in Halloween and Halloween 2. And then when you get to Laurie Strode in H2O in 2018, it's like, it's Laurie Strode, but it's like uniquely different variations of the character. It's not the same character. They're calling it Laurie Strode, but you can't tell me the character in H2O is anything like the character in Halloween 2018. Those are two completely different characters. So it's almost hard to actually judge Laurie Strode because it's three different interpretations. Her in H2O and 2018 are nothing like what she was as a teenager in Halloween in the original Halloween. So hard to say. Okay. Now, of course, you see my videos. You know who's going to be my top 2. You just don't know the order. So number 2 is going to be Dr. Loomis, my favorite protagonist in horror film history, Dr. Loomis, guns blazing. Here comes the cavalry, shooting him 6 times in the original Halloween. Halloween 2, showing up at the hospital in the nick of time, you know, lighting the fire to sacrifice himself and take out Michael Myers. Of course, he didn't know that, you know, he would still be alive with burn marks and Michael was in a coma for 10 years. But notwithstanding, sacrifice himself with the right idea. What would the franchise be without Loomis's rants? I feel like Loomis's rants, if those are on the top of his head, you just imagine Loomis the night before laying in bed, thinking about, what am I going to tell Meeker tomorrow? I'm going to give this speech. What am I telling Brad? Like, these speeches he gives are so epic in terms of just prepping the audience for, like, making you remember how big of a threat Michael Myers is. And he's not only telling the cops or other characters, not just getting in their heads how big a threat Michael is. He's projecting to the audience, like, hey, this is a bad mofo, and you better be scared. Reminding you every film that, hey, Michael is not someone to be trifled with. So, listen, a lot of this is Donald Pleasance doing a great job with the Loomis character. I like all the versions of Loomis. I think it's actually, it all makes sense to me. People say in Halloween 5, he's gone over the edge, he's too insane. If you were chasing Michael for 4 movies, you'd be insane too, I feel like. So I don't fault him for the batshit insane performance in Halloween 5. Halloween 6, a little bit more older, obviously not energetic, but still given 1 or 2 great lines of dialogue in that movie. So Loomis is my favorite protagonist. I wish they would have found a way to have him in the new trilogy, but obviously it's just not possible. And having lookalikes who have odd voices, Hawkins and Michael kill again, saying things that Loomis probably wouldn't say. I'm not a big fan of that. So he's sorely missed in H2O, sorely missed in the new trilogy. For me, the Loomis movies are the core backbone of the Halloween franchise. Those are my ones I like to go and rewatch as much more than the other ones. So Dr. Loomis, you are the man. Somewhere you're in summer right now, I know, giving a damn speech to somebody about he's still out there. I shot him 6 times 45 years ago. Like, he's still out there. I know it. So, okay. Number 1, this leaves only one character, of course. And that is, of course, Ben No, not Ben Tramer. He's not going to be the honorable mentions. No. Michael Myers, yes. Now, as good as Halloween 3 is as a standalone movie, this is not the Halloween franchise without Michael Myers. He is the shining star. He is why fans are so driven to the Halloween franchise, where they're so loyal. They talk about the franchise every day. Social media, Reddit, this franchise is discussed every day on YouTube, for example. It's because of Michael Myers. He is, up there with anybody in terms of being iconic horror characters. If you think about, if your top 3 is Michael, Jason, and Freddy, it's up to your prerogative what order you rank them in, but Michael has the most longevity, so, I mean, he's the damn LeBron or Tom Brady of the horror genre. 1978, still kicking now. Different variations, some better interpretations, some weaker interpretations, but fans can't get enough of Michael Myers, and I concur. He is the OG original slasher icon, even more so than Leatherface. Leatherface came before him, but I never thought Leatherface was as iconic as Michael. I never thought Texas Chainsaw was as iconic as the Halloween franchise. So, listen, predictable. Michael Myers, number 1. We'll see him again. He's coming back in some capacity, whether it be a TV show or a movie. Him, Jason, and Freddy are going to be like Frankenstein, the Mummy, Dracula. They're going to come back in different iterations for the rest of eternity, in my opinion. All right, so that's the list. Are there any audible mentions? Brackets, an audible mention. Let's see. The preacher guy from Halloween 4. He's only in 1 scene, but what a great character he is. Nobody from the new trilogy. You could say Laurie, Strode, and Andy from the Rob Zombie movies. They both do a great job as well. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Oh, the babysitter from Halloween 2018, the one who's babysitting Julian. She obviously has a short amount of screen time, but does a great job there as well. So those are the honorable mentions. But all right, that's the list. So that's the top 10 characters for me in the Halloween franchise. Again, let me know in the comments what you think about my list. Give your own list. And I think next week I'm going to dive into Halloween 3, a how to fix Halloween 3 video. So if any guys want to watch Halloween 3 during the week, get prepped for that. Get your thoughts ready for Halloween 3, because I haven't really done a full-blown video on that in the past, I don't think so. But anyways, until next time, you guys take care.